Using Docker commit is an inefficient way to generate images for the most part. Docker provides another mechanism to build Docker images using the command docker build. Docker build relies on a file called a Dockerfile, which specifies a list of instructions used to build a Docker image. The commands that we manually ran inside our container to produce an image can be specified in a Dockerfile. This gives us a shareable, reproducible, and automatable recipe for building a Docker image. When we run docker build, Docker essentially creates a container from the base image and executes each instruction in the container and saves the changes to an image layer. Each line in the Docker file is an atomic commit. These layers are cached as the image builds. So changing an instruction in a Docker file will only cause the layers at and after the changed instruction to be rerun. This makes building a new image much easier as you do not have to start from scratch every time you build. Let's create a simple Docker file and try it out. For this lesson, we have a directory containing an empty Docker file and our average JavaScript application from the last lesson. Let's make our first Docker file. Docker files are always named Dockerfile with a capital D and no spaces. The first instruction in any Docker file must be the from instruction. The from instruction specifies which base image to use as a starting point for the image. We can pick any base image we'd like. For this demonstration, we'll just use the latest Alpine Linux image. Notice the instruction name is always in all caps. The next instruction we'll add to our Docker file is the maintainer instruction. This simply indicates the owner of the Docker image. This line does not at all affect the functionality of the container. So let's save our Docker file and try building it. To build our Docker file, we simply run docker build and pass the path of the Docker file as the argument. Since our Docker file is in the current working directory, we can just use period. We now see a series of steps building our image in the output. The first step is from our from instruction. And here we downloaded our base image. Below the step output is an image